And so foreclosures are just kind of all over the news these days, and I've heard of people just making a killing buying property at the trustee sale, buying foreclosed homes. The main question I have is just with your insight into the business, what is it you're seeing? Are there really good deals down at the auction?
Depends on your interpretation of good deals. They're definitely discounted properties, wholesale properties. Our normal discount is anywhere from 25 or 25 to 30% of today's market value. That's the difficult part. How do you establish today's market value? One guy can think the house is worth 200, another guy can think it's worth 250. But yeah, there are discounted properties. Are there people making tons of money? I don't want to say tons of money, but yes, my investors are making money.
Excellent. So just over the years, how many properties do you think you've actually bid on, your company has actually bid on over the last 10, 20 years, even at the trustee sale?
Well, I've had my license for 20 years. We've had this business in existence for the last 7. Gosh, I couldn't even tell you the numbers. We've averaged buying over 100 properties a month for the last 6 or 8 months. And that's buying those houses. So as far as bidding on houses, there's thousands and thousands.
So it's a multi-step. You start bidding on this many, but you only get a few of those. And you guys are buying about 100 properties a month right now.
Correct. And any number a day, we could be bidding on 20, 30 different properties. So yeah, we bid on multiple homes every day.
Excellent. So John, could you just, for the new people who don't really understand the trustee sale process, could you kind of give me an overview of how properties end up on the courthouse steps and being foreclosed on?
Sure. Arizona, like several other states in the nation, is a deed of trust state. Most people call it a mortgage, but it's actually a deed of trust that secures the loan. So in Arizona, in order for the lender to get the property back, they have to go through what's called a trustee sale. The trustee sale is the foreclosing procedure that actually sells the deed of trust back to the bank. So in essence, when a property goes into foreclosure, the individual goes late on their payment. Usually it's about 90 days before they get noticed. Lately, some of them are going longer because it's just a sheer volume, but 90 days is usually the standard. So after 90 days, they go into what's called default at that point, and the notice is posted on you'll see like a notice on the front door, on their garage door, and that's a notice of foreclosure. That's how it's noted on the property. Also, it's a public notice, so they have to publish it in either a business paper, and also it'll be on maricopa.gov. Once that happens, the foreclosure date is 90 days from that date. So let's just say the notice date is day 0. 90 days later is the foreclosure date. So at that point, they have 90 days to either bring the note current, refinance, or do something to stop that sale. Normally, first time around, it's been happening more and more that they go to sale first time around because people just walk away because they're over encumbered. But there's a time that a lot of them got postponed first time around, either due to a bankruptcy. Recently, there have been more postponements, not so much due to bankruptcy, but due to beneficiary discretion, meaning that the beneficiary decided to postpone it for one reason or another, or mutual agreement, meaning that they might be working on a loan mod or a short sale or something. So you see a lot of that happening. People ask, how does the bank establish the opening bid? The opening bid is set by the bank. Actually, it's not even set by the bank. That is actually what the bank is bidding to buy the property back. So when you attend the auction, you'll actually hear the auctioneer say, on behalf of the beneficiary, I bid the sum of, and that's the opening bid. Sometimes it's a total debt bid, meaning that they're able to recoup the original note amount plus whatever fees, interest legally allowed by law. So the opening bid might be higher than the original note amount. So you might see the original note was $200,000, but the opening bid's $268,000. Well, that's all the back payments, fees, and things that they could add to foreclose on the property. More often than not, recently, you will see what's called a specified bid, which is a lesser bid than what's owed because the bank is just trying to get rid of it. That's how the drop bids occur also, is at the last minute, the bank realizes, oh, at $200,000, we're going to get this back for sure. What do we need to get it gone? Well, let's drop it to 50. We know we'll get bidders at that, and whatever we get above that, they get anyway, so they'll be happy. So that's how the auction occurs. So that's how the bids, let me just go through the rest of it, which is once it gets to sale. Let's just say it doesn't postpone, it goes to sale, the opening bid's low enough that we're willing to bid on it. When it goes to sale, the auctioneer will say, on behalf of the beneficiary, bid the sum of $100,000. Are there any other bids? At that point, if we're interested, one of us will jump in. Usually one of the original, the regulars down here will jump in with plus $1 or plus $1. And then if there's anybody else interested, then it'll go next 100, next 1,000, and depending on how much equity there is, it may jump in $1,000 increments, it may jump in $1,000 increments, it may jump in $100 increments, but it all depends on who's bidding and how much more we're willing to go. If the opening bid's $100,000 and I'm going to go over 200, I'm not wasting my time in bidding at $100 increments, especially if there's other regular bidders that I know are as aggressive. So we'll go in $10,000 increments, $5,000 increments. As it gets down to the last 2 or 3 guys, you'll start seeing us bid at $100 increments till we get, because we're not going to pay more than we have to. Once the bid is won, you have to give the auctioneer cashier's check for $10,000. Like I told you earlier, $10,000 is required in the cashier's check in order for you to qualify to bid. So you give him the $10,000 bid. At that point, he stamps it, signs it, and says sold to John for whatever the bid amount was. That does not complete the sale at that time. You get a receipt for the deposit. At the next business day by 5 p.m. you have to pay in full. At that time, the sale is considered completed. Okay. Now you don't get a deed immediately.
Yeah, to get title of the property the next day or no?
Depending on who the trustee is. Now, some of the local trustees, such as Perry and Shapiro Security Title, will record the deed within 2 days. Perry and Shapiro will also allow you to pick up that title the next business day. Tiffany and Bosco is 7 days. If the out-of-state trustees, they will mail you the trustee's deed. They have 10 business days. Normally we get in about 7. Sometimes it takes longer and we have to chase it down just again because of the volume of the sales, and the trustees are also overwhelmed. So sometimes we do have to chase them down. I've heard many legal interpretation on this. The most consistent legal interpretation I've heard is at the time of full payment is when the clock stopped. It is your property at that time. The interpretation is that recordation of the trustee's deed is just public notice. It doesn't constitute that's when the property was sold. Now, in regular real estate, when you make payment, the deed is recorded. That's why they say recordation is notice that you've purchased the property or your property's gone into your name. Trustee sale is a little different. I've heard from many attorneys that specialize in trustee sales that at time of full payment is considered, transfer of title or, that you own the property at that time.
Does the buyer actually get keys at that time?
There's no keys. Basically, depending on the property, if it's vacant or occupied, you may have to do an eviction. So if it's vacant, we basically tell the client, I can send my guy over to rekey it for you for a small fee, or you can just call a locksmith and rekey, or you can go over and rekey it yourself. Usually it takes drilling the lock out or picking a lock and then just securing the house again. If it's an eviction, depending on who's in it, if it's the current owner, you may have to do an eviction. You can do cash for keys. Our investors do many different things. Some of our investors, if they're looking to buy rental properties, will allow them, the individual to stay in it, and maybe in a couple of years sell it back to them. There's a lot of different ways to make it work for everybody. So, but yeah, you don't get keys at that point.
No garage door opener.
Yeah. At that point, you're on your own as far as getting access to the house. Now, there has been times when the owners have left us notes saying the keys are under the mat and the garage door openers are inside in the drawer. Here's how you operate the pull motor. But more often than not, usually you just help yourself to secure the property.
So I think we talked before, and you said you were around for the prior boom and bust here in Phoenix. How does the current market compare boom and bust cycle to the 90s boom and bust cycle?
Well, I just started in real estate in '89, so that's right when the RTC stuff was going on. That was an interesting market because it was a little bit different. The government stepped right in and bailed out the savings and loans and basically took them over and liquidated everything. This time it's a little different. I don't see the banks liquidating. I don't see the government stepping in and liquidating. I see the banks are stepping in and more assisting. I'm sorry, the government stepping in and assisting the banks more than they are like taking the non-performing assets and liquidating them. So if you ask people where are all the properties that are being taken back by the banks, well, they're not they're not releasing them out to the general public. Not in large numbers anyways. And we watch trustee sales every day, and we see numbers like 100 properties, 200 properties a day being sold back to the banks. There's definitely not that many properties coming back on the market with the banks, so that tells you right there that
So what's happening to them?
Right now, nobody's sure. Obviously, the lenders are holding on to some of them. They are releasing some, but not in the numbers that they could be, which is not a bad thing because it keeps the market from going, the price is going down, the market from completely going upside down. So it's not a bad thing. I've heard some numbers like when the lender sells a property at auction and they take a 50% loss, they get to recoup up to 70% of that. So
Wow.
something like that. I'm not sure what the numbers are. I've heard some different numbers. So that's why there's so many foreclosures. A lot of people ask me why don't the lenders work with short sales and try to get rid of them before they go to auction. Many different reasons. Most of it probably because they're so overwhelmed, they probably don't have the resources to complete as many short sales as they probably would like to.
They even have properties they probably don't even know they own.
Yeah, I think we know of a couple people that personally that haven't made payments for over 2 years and they've never received a notice or anything, so they've just been kind of slipped through the cracks, so to speak.
Wow.
And that's, I know the oldest trustee sale property that I've been tracking is since 2002, so they've somehow had this property postponed since 2002. For 8 years, they've been living there, maybe making a payment here or there, but somehow been able to not, get foreclosed. So how are they doing it? I'm not sure. Very good at negotiating and playing the game, I assume.
Very good lawyer.
Exactly.
So for people who don't know, what's just a real high level of the foreclosure process, and how do people like you end up buying properties and buying that many properties every month?
Well, we have a system in place that we've had in place for many years now. What we're an information-based company. So we provide all the information to our investors, including what's going to sell. So what we like to call it's like Groundhog Day for us. It's every day, it's the same thing over and over, just different properties.
Uh-huh.
So it's a 24-hour wheel. And every day we look at the properties that are going to sell the next business day, establish opening bids, establish market value, and our investors take a look at those properties and decide which ones they would like to go after and basically set a number on how much they'd like to pay. And if they're able to acquire the property, then we go down and bid on a property. If we acquire it, they pay whatever we pay for the property plus a flat fee that we charge.
I see. Okay.
And it's pretty, it's easy to do. I wouldn't say easy as far as due diligence and as far as the investment part, as far as using the system to acquire properties. It's a turnkey program, so you can step right in and buy a property through us. If you're seasoned and you're just looking for somebody to go down there and facilitate the bidding and give you the information, then it's a turnkey program for those individuals.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we've got many investors that used to bid through other people or even have attended the auctions and realize that for what we charge for our service, it's well worth it, because just the time and effort alone to be down there all day long is time consuming. Absolutely. And if you're down there to buy one or two properties and you're just chasing one or two houses and they both postpone, you spend a week down there, you're like, okay, I've been down here every day, these haven't even gone to sale. I can't even attempt to buy it because they get postponed. So you end up spinning your wheels a lot if you're just trying to do onesie twosies, and that's why there's a place like us, a company for us.
Okay. So buying at the trustee sale actually sounds real scary to a lot of people, and just it sounds like there's a lot of risk. How risky is it buying a property out there?
It's extremely risky if you don't know what you're doing. Obviously, we do a lot of due diligence on everything that we bid on. So for us, it's not risky at all. Can we make a mistake? Absolutely. Have we made mistakes in the past? Very few. Yeah, because if we can't verify something, we won't take the risk. We just won't bid on it. An example how somebody can make a mistake at trustee sales. Say you're just a third-party individual coming down to sales, and I've seen this happen many times. You get on the website and you see Tiffany and Bosco's website, and you see there's a property going to sell, and you say, hey, opening bid's $25,000. It's a great deal on a house. So you go down and the house is worth $150,000. Guy comes down thinking he's going to buy that thing, and without doing any due diligence, he just goes and bids on the property. Well, he gets a house for $1 over opening bid, thinks he's got a great deal. It's like, we approach him and say, hey, why do you think we're here, and why wouldn't we bid on that house if we're all looking for a good deal? Well, he just bought a junior lien. Mm-hmm. A junior lien is a lien that's in second position after the first deed of trust. You can bid on a junior lien, but you're responsible for every other lien in senior position. So you're going to be responsible at least another first deed of trust. You may be responsible for HOA liens. You may be responsible for, usually not mechanics liens, because those are more for like pre-construction types of deals. But any lien that anybody has put on the property, you'll be responsible for. So that person that just thought they bought the house for $25,000, now if he has to pay off all the existing liens, there may be another 150,000 liens they have to pay off. The path of least resistance at that point is to walk away from your $10,000 bid deposit. Most of the time, we let people know so that they don't have to pay the balance. In that case, if the guy wanted to pay off the first and take the house and try to make some money, that's an option that he can use, but most of the time they're so over encumbered that they probably wouldn't want to do that.
Especially in today's market with real estate down like 50%, that, you know, even the first is underwater.
Correct. There's a reason that junior liens go to sell, you know, because they're not getting paid either, and they probably won't even want the property back because they're so over encumbered. A lot of the juniors are walking away at this point. So another thing that, you know, if you don't do your due diligence and you know, you don't drive the property, you know, you don't look at the property, it could be burned. There's a lot of different things that could happen. We drive everything that we make a bid on. We check title on everything to make sure we're bidding on first lien positions. We will bid on junior liens if we know that it's a junior lien and we're trying to buy it as a junior lien and knowing that we're going to pay off the first. Sometimes that'll happen if one of our investors is working on a short sale or something and they know all the information such as the payoff on every loan. They just couldn't get the deal through in time and the junior lien's going to sale. The junior lien may go to sale at $20,000. The first may have a payoff of $70,000. House may still be worth $150,000. That's worth buying, so because you're still in it for only $90,000, or maybe with fees $95,000. So somebody may say, "Hey, I know everything about the house. I've done this before. I've worked on this deal. I want to buy that junior lien, knowing that I'll pay off the first." And we'll tell them, "Okay, we'll bid on it, but you know, we're not going to take the responsibility." I don't put it in writing, but I guarantee my clients, if we buy a junior lien unknowingly, I will take it, and we've never had a problem. We've made a few mistakes, not on lien position, but on legal descriptions, and I've always taken the house back and paid the investor back their money. And most of the time, I could end up selling it for a little bit, you know, a small loss. So I'm not worried about it. So, but we do try to step up. We haven't made too many mistakes, but if a mistake occurs and it's our fault, we will make sure that the investor is whole.
Okay, great. Well, the other big thing about the trustee sale is just the whole rumor is that, you know, the individual investor does not get a fair chance, and that it's a total old boys network down there, and it's just a controlled auction, and a bunch of guys just control everything. How true is that?
True and false. I'll give you a quick story. When I first started going on trustee sales, and I've been tracking trustee sales since probably '94, wanted to always get involved, but always thought it took cash. And it does take cash the next business day, but you know, you can use hard money. If I would have known that, I would have done this a long time ago. But anyways, so I started tracking sales, heading down to auctions, and notoriously there was one or two groups that pretty much controlled everything down there. And two of the guys, I won't mention their names, you know, I happened to be getting in the elevator at Tiffany and Bosco after a sale, and they get in the elevator with me. And, "Have you been to a few auctions? You're planning on buying anything?" And I said, "I'm not sure, maybe." And they're like, "Well, don't bother bidding because we'll bid you up. You might as well buy it from us." I was like, all right. So I decided to make friends with the other guys because there were two large groups. So that's kind of how I got started. Back in those days, would I get bid up if I was a third party down there bidding on something? Yes. The scary part about some of those guys down there, back in the day, they didn't care about losing money. They cared more about controlling the sale.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore because the market's too shaky. These guys can't afford to lose any money in this market, so they're not going to take those types of risks just to try to bid somebody up. But they don't want the house, so they're not going to take the risk to try to bid somebody up. Is there blind bidding going on? All the time. The reason I say blind bidding is, let's just say we have this thing called drop bids that happen all the time. Drop bids are when the beneficiary specifies a bid at the last minute to a lower amount. So an opening bid could be set at $200,000. We could be at the auction thinking it's going to sell at $200,000, and all of a sudden the auctioneer at the last minute will announce that the bank specified the bid down to $50,000. Well, now it's worth bidding on, but we have no due diligence on it.
Right.
So first thing we do is we ask the auctioneer to give us 10 minutes so we can check title. We check title quickly because we have a title plan here in the office, so we'll check title quickly. Once we know that it's a first, once he takes it to sale, we've got somebody trying to run out to the house right now, look at it. So right now we're bidding blindly, just trying to keep that thing alive. And it's kind of funny because you'll see a couple of guys bidding at $100 a time on the phone trying to get reports on it immediately. And sometimes you get good deals because guys won't be as aggressive. But yeah, those are the types of things that, you know, that people don't understand that happen down there. You know?
How often does that type of thing
Every
happen?
day.
Every day.
Yeah, there's drop bids every day. There was an article in the Arizona Republic about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, about how there's a lot of shady stuff going down at auctions because of these drop bids. That reporter was totally out of line. I would have loved to talk to that person because they don't understand that there's also a thing called a jump bid. A lot of properties that we do research on that we end up going down there thinking that we're going to buy for $160,000. The bank doesn't tell us that they're going to protect the bid up to $250,000 if a third-party bidder bids. They say if a third-party bidder bids on behalf of the bank, we will jump the bid up to a certain number. So here's a house that we've done title on, we've done comps on, we've driven. We've sent out to our investors, they've looked at it, they want to bid on it, everybody's happy, everybody's aggressive, everybody's ready to go, everybody's, excited about this property. We get down to the sale, and all of a sudden it just pulled out from underneath us, because the bank's gonna go up to a certain number, much higher than what we're willing to pay if we're gonna bid. Why do they do that? For tax purposes, they can show that they try to get rid of the property for a lot less money than what they're actually doing. So they can try to write that off. It's kind of a game that they play. Same thing with the drop bids. Why don't they let us know ahead of time?
Yeah.
It would behoove them to let us know ahead of time, so there's more people that have time to do due diligence, so more people would be down there aggressively bidding. That was one of the things that the article was saying, that there's some type of collusion or something being done between the trustees and the beneficiaries and the bidders down there, that they're releasing this information at the last minute, and we have an advantage over the general public or the layman. It's like, that's not the case at all. This information is public on their websites. We pick it up off their websites because we have employees that check every half hour, every 20 minutes to see what the drop bids are. We check constantly. Anybody else could be doing that, so there's no unfair advantage. We just have a system in place that allows us to check it all the time.
Okay. So actually, I want to hear a little bit more about the system. How is it that you guys determine something's worth bidding on, and then you collect bid from investors? How does that thing work? And then how do you end up actually bidding down at the auction?
Basically, we have a spreadsheet. On the spreadsheet, we pull estimated values off the county records. The girls are instructed to do anything that's 80% of market value or less. Anything where the opening bid for the property is 80% or less than what the county records show the market value as. Those are the ones that we actually do more due diligence on. Pull comps, look at title, things like that. Now, once we pull comps, they maybe establish that the property is not worth that, so we may just throw that one out. But that's how we establish which ones we're going to do due diligence on. That's a small number. Usually it's less than 10% of what's going to sell. So that if there's 100 properties with opening bids, there may only be 10 houses worth bidding on. Usually we have about 1,000, and there's maybe 40, 50 properties, so it's usually more like 4 or 5% of the properties that are worth bidding on. So those are the ones we look at, and that's how we do our due diligence on those properties. If the opening bid's too high, we don't even bother with them.
So at the beginning of each day, you guys actually have to sift through from starting at 1,000 all the way down to the 50 that are worth it.
Correct. Sometimes it's 2,000, So,
Crazy.
and we have 2 or 3 different employees that's all they do is the due diligence, which is, getting the opening bid information, checking the comps, and if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and that's why there's a place for us, because there's not one central place you can go get that information. Somebody's like, well, where can I get a list that gives me all that information? You can't. You can get it from us, because we compile that list. It's our own database. Yeah, there's so many different trustees, both locally and out of state, that if you don't know where to go to get the information, it's almost impossible. That information is public, you can get it, but you just have to know where to get it.
I see. So you mentioned there's other bidding groups, other people that are buying for their own portfolio or for third-party investors. What is it that you guys do that's sort of different than them?
Well, we're probably the largest buyer down there, and we're probably the only one that actually only takes half the bid deposit to bid on properties for clients. Most of the companies will take a $10,000 bid deposit. The deposit down at the auction is $10,000. So when you go to the auction, to qualify to bid for a house, you have to show them a cashier's check for $10,000. When you're a successful bidder, you give them the $10,000. Well, we feel like our investors are partners, so we put up half the $10,000. We put up $5,000. Our investors have $5,000 on deposit with us. As long as they have the deposit with us, they're our client. They have access to everything that we have, and they can bid through us as many times as possible as they want. They can bid 100 times. If they don't acquire the property, there's no fee. They can get their $5,000 deposit back, and they can be on their way. That doesn't cost them a dime. The only time they pay is if we're successful in acquiring the property from them. At that time, our flat fee is either $2,000 for $100,000 and under, a purchase price of $100,000 or under, and $3,000 for a purchase price of $100,000 or more.
Okay.
And other things that we do differently is the due diligence. I know many guys that have gotten stuck with properties that had back taxes, that had junior liens. They bought junior liens that the due diligence was wrong on the property, such as bedrooms, bath. One of the clients we have, she got stuck with so many properties that were not what was told to her as far as bedroom, bath, square footage, things like that. She finally got tired, and now she's buying through us. And in hindsight, I bet that guy wishes, because she's bought so many houses from us. If you look at the long term, she's a great client. It wasn't worth, selling her a couple of houses to lose her for a client, but she's been buying so many houses from us, but that's because we do the due diligence and we protect her. If we find out something about a house, like we have multiple investors that drive houses and let us know about things, and we have drivers that go out. If we find out a property's damaged, we're gonna let the investor know. I don't know if that happens with other companies. I've heard people down there going, hey, they put a bid on it, they should have done their own due diligence. If we find out something, for instance, Jeff and Jace and Sean and Mike are all our bidders, and they talk to the clients on a regular basis. So we may have a bid on a house. Let's say an investor calls and says, hey, I'll bid $200,000 on this house. Well, they ran out and looked at the house, and they got in, and they found out the property was stripped. They call us and say, hey, we want to back off that bid. That house is stripped, and let all your other investors know that I got in and it's stripped. At that point, we call all of our other investors or text all of our investors and let them know, whoever has bids on that property, and let them know, hey, either one of our affiliates or one of our drivers got in the property, it's stripped. Just wanted to give you that information so that you can adjust your bid or cancel.
Okay.
So the other day we had one up in Desert Mountain, which has a $75,000 HOA transfer fee. Anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 is the membership HOA transfer fee up there, and they don't waive that for anybody. And we had several people that bid on it, so before we bid on the property, we let them know. We couldn't verify that information, but we didn't know if it was true or how it was applied. But because we heard that, we put the word out to our investors so they could do their own due diligence and call the HOA and find that stuff out so they didn't get stuck with something if for some reason we bought it. So.
Okay.
And after all that, it postponed. So.
That happens quite often.
It happens quite often, but now we'll know for the next time.
So for the new investor who wants to kind of get in the game and kind of pick up their first or second foreclosed property, or at least see what it's all about, where do you kind of recommend they start in general?
Well, here's what we have. We have the system in place. Like I say, it's a turnkey system that if an investor wants to just start bidding in their season, they can walk right in, give us a $5,000 bid deposit, sign our simple contract, hire us as the service, and they can start tomorrow and acquire property tomorrow. They'll have access to the list in their buy packet tonight, and they can start bidding on properties tomorrow. If somebody's brand new or maybe is uncomfortable, they've only done one and they want to maybe get a little assistance, we have what we call a Jumpstart program. Basically, the fee structure is a little different, but we'll walk you through the entire system, including going through our list, identifying a property that you want to bid on, and most of the time we'll suggest bid on multiple properties so you increase your chance on winning the bid, because you bid on one and it postpones and you pretty much lost a day. So if you can target 3 or 4 properties, bid on all of them, and know that when you get one, you're going to cancel the rest of your bids. But we will have a quote unquote mentor or a advisor, whatever you want to call them, who will work with them hand in hand, and basically identify the property to bid on, make those bids, hopefully be successful in acquiring the property. Once we acquire the property, we will actually help them with the rehab, go through and walk the property, show them what they should do, what they shouldn't do, where to put the money, where not to put the money, and then basically turn around and help with the marketing and disposition and selling the property through Trilogy, which is our real estate company. And we'll take a small percentage of the profit, but we'll walk them through the entire process. To do the Quick Start program, there's a small fee up front. We haven't established it yet, but it'll be less than $500 just to get in the door. We just want somebody to make sure that they're real, and the deposit, and we're ready to go on it.
Excellent.
The only other thing we require is that they do a minimum of 3 with us, and then at that point they can go on their own, or they can continue to do more with the same structure if they like, if they're comfortable with it, or if they're still not comfortable and they want to do a couple more. We'll be more than happy to extend that forward.
Okay. So just based upon your years in the business, what is the sort of number one mistake that you see that the newest people make when they try to get into this business?
Just stop doing the due diligence. I've seen a number of people lose $10,000 down at the auction. Other than that, if you're careful, you can get some good deals down there. Another thing that you said, okay, getting started. The hardest thing is to get started. Pulling the trigger is difficult. That's what the Jumpstart program helps you. We've had many clients that come in and think that they're going to buy a lot of properties, and they tell us how aggressive they are, and they walk in and they're not. They're completely surprised at how aggressive the bidding is down at the auction. So they have to make adjustments in order to win properties. With that being said, are we getting properties at a discount? Absolutely. Are our investors making money? Absolutely. We're buying 100 properties plus a month. That's only because they're making money.
Makes sense to me. So my last question is, paying all cash still sounds like a lot of money you have to come up with in I guess like 24 hours or so from winning the property. Are there other options out there, or really you literally have to have like a cashier's check to give to the trustee?
No, absolutely. Like I mentioned prior, I would have started a long time ago if I had known there was hard money available. Now, back in '94, I don't think there was hard money available like it is today. Hard money is a big business. What I mean by hard money, it's higher interest loan, asset-based, so they don't look at credit, they don't look at, now I can't say they don't look at credit completely. One of my hard money lenders will actually pull a personal profile on you, look to see how many properties you own. He'll check the county database to see, if you say you've done 100 homes and he looks in the database and he's only seen that, you've owned 3 properties in the last couple of years, he's going to say, yeah, you flipped 100 homes, and what other entities do you own, But he'll do a little due diligence on you to make sure that you don't have a ton of foreclosures right now before he loans you money. But other than that, it's completely asset-based. So if you acquire a property at 70 cents on the dollar at the auction, the lender will require you to put 20% down. So they'll loan you about 50 cents on today's value at 18%. Now, 18% sounds high, but if you break it down, it's 1.5. It's annualized, so it's 1.5 a year. So on $100,000, it's $50 a day or $1,500 a month. For $1,500 a month, I'll do a deal all day long. I just consider that cost of doing business. So let's just say an average time to acquire and sell the property is anywhere from 90 to 120 days. It costs you $6,000 to have the hard money loan out. Would you be willing to pay $6,000 to make $25,000, $30,000? Absolutely. If that's the only way you can get the deal done, absolutely. Somebody says to me, I've got $100,000. I want to do fix and flips. I want to put $100,000 down and just borrow, half. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Let's do that on the first one. And the next one, though, if you're making money, maybe you want to leverage it a little bit more. Why not leverage, use half and do 2 at a time? And we've had investors all of a sudden start thinking, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to borrow the money and it's only going to cost you, and I say only, 18%. I mean, again, it's the difference of what, on $100,000, it's $50,000 or $75 or $750,000 or $750 for the month if you use it for an extra, 30 days. I use the other money for another property. I've got investors coming up to me that put down a lot of money. It's like, what, I want to do a second one, but I put all my money into the first one. It's like, well, next one, don't leverage so much. Another thing is too, make sure you have enough fixed up costs in case there's some stuff that you didn't anticipate that was going to, be required to be repaired. So if you leverage yourself completely and use all your money for the down payment, you don't want to cut yourself short. Or if you have to hold the property a little longer than you thought, you want to make sure you can make those hard money payments. Hard money term is 6 months long. There's usually a small fee, anywhere from $500 to $1,000. It's a one-time interest charge that the lender charges. There's no points, there's no origination, so it's a pretty straight up, easy loan.
Are there a variety of hard money lenders here?
We use about 4 or 5 different lenders in town. All of them vary slightly on their terms and conditions, but they're all, as far as the interest rate goes, they're all 18%. The terms are mostly either 3 months or 6 months. Most of them are going 6 months now. At the end of 6 months, if for some reason you haven't paid that off, I would strongly suggest that you refinance and find another alternative than paying the 18%, because at that point you're pretty much paying your profits going to the hard money. If for some reason you decide to keep the house and you need to extend it a little bit, or your refi isn't going as well as you thought, you need another 30 days, as long as you're current on your monthly payments, most of those hard money lenders will extend that loan. Some of them will charge a fee, but some of them will just go and extend it for you. I've got a hard money loan that I've been paying on for about 2 years now, because it's just one of those properties that went upside down. Luckily, I have a great relationship with my hard money lenders. As long as I'm making the payments, he doesn't care. It's guaranteed money to him.
Just a rental to you now?
Yeah, well, yeah, a negative cash flow rental, but at least I still own it. I didn't lose it, which happened to a lot of people. And I'm able to absorb the negative cash flow, and I will never, I could easily give it back to him and say, hey, sorry, you loaned me too much money on this, here's your house, but I won't do that because that's my hard money guy. We're not, we think integrity is important in this business. As big as Phoenix is, it's a small town and everybody knows what you do. Yeah. Trust me, everybody knows what happens in this small community of, real estate, I guess you'll call it, especially in the wholesale business. Especially in our
everybody seems to know each other.
New groups coming down that represent, that do the same thing we do. At one time, we were the only flat fee bidding service. We were the first and only. When the market started turning, it was hard to buy inventory and take speculation buying and not get stuck with properties. it's kind of funny how people changed their models and went to the flat fee bidding service. Now I've got guys that are undercutting my fees, but you know what? I think we provide a service that second to none, and I won't cut my fees for that.
Excellent. Well, thanks for talking with me today, and if people want to kind of learn more about the Phoenix market or about what you guys do, or how would they contact you?
They can call the business office, they can come down and see us. They'll see, you know, one or two of our guys at every auction, so you know, look for the guys that are bidding on a bunch of houses, and a couple of guys that are acting a little bit crazy, but we have a good time down there. But they can call the office at 602-229-1200. More than welcome to call my cell phone, 602-989-1234. I don't always answer, but leave a message and I'll definitely get back to you. Michael Shaughnessy is a good guy to talk to in the office. He's basically taking care of our marketing and development, so he can tell you everything about the company. Come down to the office, sit with us. We'd be happy to go over everything with you.
Excellent. And do you guys have a website?
www.bidazforclosures.com.
Excellent. Well, this is David Overfield. For more expert interviews, just go to my website, accesswealthstrategies.com. And if you have any questions for John or for me, you can put some comments in the video or just leave me a comment on my website. And thanks for watching.